Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving straight into how permaculture principles literally outline a blueprint for highly productive, completely autonomous food systems. Look, if you're out there trying to build collective self-reliance, dismantle those top-down supply chains, and build genuine autonomy from the ground up, you are in exactly the right place. Let's get into it. We've got this heavy-hitting quote here from Permaculture's co-founder Bill Mollison, and it really sets the stage. The source material makes it crystal clear. Ecological design, it's not just about, cute backyard gardening. It is a literal tool for shifting power. The whole argument here is that the second a community manages its own water, grows its own food, and captures its own energy, it totally bypasses those top-down hierarchical structures. Permaculture is basically framed as a methodology for true autonomy and direct action against centralized control. It's wild stuff. So here is our roadmap for the explainer. We're going to hit farming as defiance, mapping autonomous zones, mutual aid in soil, guerrilla tactics for growth, and finally, feeding the commune. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, farming as defiance. The source material draws a super stark contrast between these two approaches. Think about it. Industrial agriculture basically functions like an authoritarian state, right? It relies totally on top-down control, massive chemical inputs, heavy machinery, all fueled by non-renewable fossil fuels. It's a pure extraction model. But permaculture, it is entirely decentralized. Instead of forcing absolute conformity onto the land, it relies on horizontal, self-sustaining relationships. Rather than forcing nature to act like a machine, this approach observes the natural patterns and just steps back. You let the ecosystem do the heavy lifting for you. Moving right along to Section 2, mapping autonomous zones. Okay, so for a commune sharing land, efficiency isn't just nice to have, it is literal survival. The source lays out this concentric organization based purely on human energy. Take Zone 1, for example. These are the things you need every single day, like communal kitchen herbs or the shared worm compost. You put those right outside your collective dwelling, because honestly, you don't want to hike half a mile just to grab some basil for the communal breakfast, right? As you move out to Zone 3, that's where you put staple crops, like corn or potatoes, that only need a visit maybe once a week. And by the time you hit Zone 5, that is completely unmanaged wilderness. This framework makes absolutely sure that your community's physical energy is spent exactly where it's needed most. Zero wasted effort, zero collective burnout. That brings us to Section 3, mutual aid in soil. Now, this is where it gets really cool. An autonomous food forest maximizes space and diversity through what's called vertical stacking. Unlike a flat, boring monoculture, a mature food forest has 9 distinct layers. You've got your tall canopy timber trees, the subcanopy fruit trees, down through the shrub layer, the herbaceous layers, all the way to aquatic and fungal layers. Because everything grows to different heights, you can pack a massively diverse community of organisms into a really small space. They share the sunlight, they share the water, and they don't compete directly because they're occupying entirely different ecological niches. Honestly, it's the ultimate way to maximize your limited communal land. So what is a guild exactly? The source material essentially defines it as biological mutual aid. You can literally think of it as an ecological affinity group. Take the classic indigenous three sisters method, for example: corn, beans, and squash. The corn acts as a vertical trellis for the beans pull nitrogen right out of the air and fix it into the soil to feed the whole crew. Meanwhile, the squash spreads its big leaves across the ground, acting like a living mulch to retain moisture and suppress weeds. They naturally support each other's survival and growth. No artificial fertilizers needed, and definitely no centralized manager constantly intervening. They just work it out together. And if you look beneath the soil, nature actually has its very own decentralized resource distribution network. We're talking about the mycelial fungal layer, which connects the root systems of entirely different plants. Get this, the network actively transports nutrients and moisture from areas of surplus straight to areas of scarcity. It functions entirely based on community needs rather than centralized hoarding. It's literally from each according to its ability to each according to its need, happening right there under our feet. How amazing is that? All right, shifting gears to Section 4, guerrilla tactics for growth. So, how do we actually establish these thriving networks on totally depleted land and do it quickly? The source outlines a tactic called sheet mulching, which is sometimes called lasagna gardening. Look, instead of relying on gas-powered tillers, which just ties you back to fossil fuel supply chains and wrecks the soil structure anyway, you use direct action. You lay down cardboard as a biodegradable barrier, Then you just stack compost on top and cover it with a really thick layer of mulch. As all of that breaks down, it invites earthworms in to naturally aerate the earth for you. You are literally building topsoil from scratch, top down, with practically zero heavy labor. Now, if a commune wants to guarantee total autonomy, the source emphasizes implementing closed-loop systems. It's all about cutting the umbilical cord to the grid. Take hugelkultur, for instance. You bury decaying wood under your planting mounds, and that wood acts like a giant subterranean sponge. It soaks up winter rains so well that you barely even have to irrigate during brutal summer droughts. Throw in rainwater harvesting off your roofs and vermicomposting to let worms rapidly turn your organic waste into nutrient-dense soil, and you've got a powerhouse system. Incorporating these strategies means the community is capturing, storing, and endlessly recycling its own water and energy. You're severing that reliance on municipal utilities for good. And finally, let's look at Section 5, Feeding the Commune. Okay, so all this theory is absolutely fascinating, but the big question is, does this decentralized method actually produce enough food for a community to survive? To find out, the source material points us directly to a recent, incredibly detailed study from the Institute for Environmental Sciences. They evaluated Central European permaculture sites and compared their crop productivity directly against standard industrial and organic agriculture models. Let's look at what they found. The results here are just stunning. The number 1.44 is the land equivalent ratio, or LER, of permaculture compared to standard German organic agriculture. Now, an LER of 1.0 means the yields are exactly equal. So 1.44, that means these decentralized, biodiverse permaculture systems are yielding a massive 44% more output per unit of land than standard monocultures. Just by stacking layers and utilizing plant guilds, you are pulling vastly more food out of the exact same square footage. According to the research, this proves that a decentralized ecological approach isn't just some theoretical utopian ideal. It is mathematically, measurably superior in its output. We've really seen today that the tools for true collective self-reliance are quite literally right under our feet. The data clearly shows that an anti-hierarchical food system isn't just possible, it absolutely thrives. So whether you are out there reclaiming a tiny urban lot or you're organizing a vast rural commune, I want to leave you with this. What unique steps are you going to take to begin building your own autonomous zone today? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will catch you all next time.